Hello, welcome to another Deck Musings. So, where are we this week? Well, we're up to this point in the standard timeline, and we're going to be looking at a deck from the US Nationals. And it's a standard deck. We're seeing a lot more of these now. Like I said, it's a lot easier. I found that the tournaments generally are lining up a lot better with set releases in terms of options of looking at like a full standard deck. But as I've said multiple times in the past, I'm not averse to looking at decks that are block constructed decks, or worst case scenario, looking at a theme deck from the period. But I always quite like to look at the standard decks if I can. So you can see here, not quite a full house because of what happened afterwards, which we'll get to next week. In terms of an extra set came in. But yeah, so we've got 9th edition is our core set, and we have the whole of the Kamigawa block and the whole of the original Ravnica block. So 1,557 cards in standard. They've obviously 29 of those cards, or they net off 29 in this equation because 29 cards are in more than one set. So, you usually get that when you've got core sets and, this very large card pool, because obviously there's cards that gets placed into certain sets for draft play, or any form of sort of single set, or even block limited. And there's a good chance that either some of those cards may also be in the core set, or may also be in the next set of the block. So yeah, there's quite a big list here actually of stuff that was kicking around in standard. And yeah, if you get time, it's probably worth looking at all the different nationals that were going on around that time. So we got the French, Italian, English, US in July, Canada and Germany in early August. So yeah, before this sort of cut-off date when we add in Cold Snap, which we'll be looking at that period next week. Yeah, so interesting to see what the meta looked like through here. It's a bit of homework. So firstly, the tournament. So you can see here's the top 8. We've got Pulcheon and LSV in the top 8. You can see, and the deck, I don't think I've said yet, I'm going to be looking at the Solar Flare deck, so we'll do a quick overview of the deck. I'll do my best job to try and describe what the deck does based on my sort of limited knowledge and what I've found out. And then we'll do the bulk of this episode, which is to sort of drill down through all the different cards and just see how similar cards have appeared or were previous to this in Magic, as we always do with these episodes. And quite a number of these I've looked at before, so obviously some I might jump over a bit quicker. The land base looks super interesting, and quite a number of these, if not all of these, I think we've touched on to some degree. There are obviously some cards in here from the most recently release set, which is obviously a good thing. And if there aren't, then obviously that's where I start looking at other decks, either in the tournament or in other tournaments, or failing that, just going down the tree, So generally I'd start off with what tournaments can I find that are playing standard? What if that doesn't really work, what tournaments, were there any block constructed tournaments at that time? If there weren't, then yeah, we just have a look at a theme deck. That's the way we go. So yeah, 3 Solar Flare decks in the top 8. Let's have a look at this. See if I can see some commonalities here. It's being a bit slow. So yeah, you can see, I don't know how easy is that. See there, like a few changes here and there in terms of the makeup of this deck. We've got also this Isotron deck. Ghazi Glare, which we were looking at probably last week or the week before. Something called Hand in Hand. Another Isotron deck. So yeah, but basically a mashup of Izzet and the Urzatron land base. Here you can see. So we got blue red colours here. And then the Urza stuff, which would be from the Court Hussar, I suppose. And we have an Orzhov aggro as well. But yeah, all of these quite complicated land base in terms of a lot of non-basic lands. Now, I'm assuming part of that is because at that time, from the previous set, there was a lot of legendary lands. So obviously some of these had to bear in mind or take consideration of the legendary rule and whether or not it was, worth running multiple copies of anything because of that. Two other things I'll include in the links to the in the description. I always keep almost saying show notes, but yeah, in the description I'll include two links. One's a link about the history of the Solar Flare deck, and the other one is actually like a tournament report by Paul Cheon from back in the day. So you can read through that if that's the sort of thing you're interested in. So let's look at the deck here, see what we've got. So yeah, let's just start off as we always do from the artifacts. We'll go through, we're on a grid here. So yeah, we've got 6 artifacts, 4 Azorius Signets and 2 Dimir Signets. So Azorius obviously white blue, Dimir blue black. Both of them take 1 mana of any colour and turn it into 2. It's a nice magic trick. So you'll get colour filtering but also ramp. So yeah, you can get these out turn 2 and then start generating your mana. And you'll notice, the mana pool, mana generation here, super interesting. So we've got 11 creatures. We have 3 Court Hussars. Let me just make sure this is on, it is on a mana curve, which is always like. Let me see if I can get this all on one page, sort of there. Yep. So, Court Hussar, 2 and a blue. So the curve for the creatures starts on 3 drops. So just bear that in mind. It's a 1/3. It has vigilance, and when it comes into play, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. When Court Hussar comes into play, sacrifice it unless a single blue was spent to play it. So I had a look at some of these cards, I think, last week when we were sort of looking at this whole business of cards where you've got a spell effect which under certain circumstances could be just the spell. So obviously here, if white wasn't used to play this, and that's just making sure here, where there's 2 mana of any colour, or one of those, or at least one of those is white, then it can be played for just this bit here, if you so choose. Now, the other thing about this is in this deck there is ways of getting certain things back from the graveyard as well. So next card we've got, so we have 3 copies of that. 1 card of Meloku, the Clouded Mirror. It's 4 and a blue, so we're already up on 5 drop on the curve. It's 2/4 legendary creature. It has flying and single mana of any colour. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. Put a 1/1 blue illusion creature token with flying into play. So it's a land you control. So it'd be interesting to see when we get to the land base what we've got in terms of ETBs. So is there anything that, okay, it's a pain, we've got to return a land to our hand. I mean, we get a 1/1 blue illusion creature with flying for it. But is there anything where there's actually an advantage in having a land back in our hand? Single Ink Eyes Servant of Oni, 4 and 2 black, 5/4 with ninjutsu. So 3 and 2 black, return an unblocked attacker you control to hand. Put this card into play from your hand, tapped and attacking. So a bit of combat shenanigans there. Swapping something like an unblocked attacker out with this. And then, that unblocked attacker goes back in your hand. So again, strategically, and getting, I suppose, the maximum benefits from this, that thing you're going to bounce, that unblocked attacker, what sort of stuff does it have on it? So so whenever Ink Eye Servant of Oni deals combat damage to a player, you may put target creature card from that player's graveyard into play under your control. So taking stuff from the graveyard. And 1 of the black, regenerate Ink Eyes. Next up, same point on the curve. So these 3 cards were at the same point on the curve. They're all 6 drops. So we've got Kokusho, the Evening Star, 4 and 2 blacks, a 5/5 with flying. And when it's put into the graveyard from play, each opponent loses 5 life. You gain life equal to the cost to the life lost this way. And then Yosei, the Morning Star. That's 4 and 2 white with a 5. It's a 5/5 with flying. And when it's put into the graveyard from play, target player skips his or her next untap step. Tap up to 5 target permanents that player controls. And we've got 3 Angels of Despair. So this is right at the top end. So what's that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 drop. 7 drop. It's a 5/5 with flying. And when it comes into play, you get to destroy a target permanent. And that's any target permanent. Okay, 7 instants. What do we have? So Remand. So 1 and a blue. Counter target spell. If you do, return that spell card. Return that spell card to its owner's hand. Draw a card. And 3 Mortifies. So 1 white black instant, destroy target creature or enchantment. Our land base. So there's 23 land here, but look at the the amount of different things we have here. So as you can see, we got Azorius Chancery. So a number of these, so I'm sort of, I can't really group these together, but so these are the bounce lands from original Ravnica. And if you remember, across all the sets, there was a 4-3-3 breakdown of stuff in terms of the combinations of colours. So 4 in the first set, 3 in the second, 3 in the third. So anything from those sets that are in here, any of those lands, they're going to be from the appropriate set based on, or the relevant set based on whatever guild they're attributed to. In addition, we have also lands here from the core set. And and also legendary lands from the previous block, from Kamigawa block, plus another non-legendary from there as well. So yeah, look at all the stuff here. So I think this is the only... Is that the only bounce? Oh no, hang on. Let me look before I talk. So yeah, so we've got 2 Azorius Chanceries, 2 Orzhov Basilicas. So yeah, white, blue, white, black. So that mirrors... No, it doesn't. Oh dear, crikey. Yeah, so this is blue, black. Okay. So different bounces to those artifacts. I think that's it. I think that's just the only bounce lands here. So we have this Caves of Koilos. So you can tap it for colourless mana. If you tap it for white or black, then it deals 1 damage to you. So these are from the core set. What else like that have we got from the core set? Oh, there's the underground river. So that's the blue-black one. So blue-black, white-black. Yeah, nice bit of sort of, I might refer to it as colour meshing going on here. So, you know, where you might have different 2 colour combinations for different land cycles. It's often interesting to see that happen sometimes on commander decks where there's quite a big number of colours in the colour identity, and sometimes when you get those pre-cons, you know, they'll have like different dual lands from different sets. Sometimes it'll have the cycle to cover all the combinations, but it's always interesting to see when it's sort of been meshed a bit like this. So then we've got one of these monocolour legendary lands, the white one, Eiganjo Castle. So tap, add white to your mana pool, 1 single white tap, prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to target legendary creature this turn. Then we have these, so yeah, here's the white-black one. What else have we got here? Any other ones? I think this one down here is, yeah, Watery Grave, so the blue-black one. So 3 of these, and remember we spoke about this before with this, you know, referencing the actual type of land, which you don't always see on a non-basic. But here's the yeah, I missed that as well, the white-blue one as well. So yeah, Godless Shrine, Hallowed Fountain. So yeah, all similar, same template where you've got, you know, comes into play. You can choose to pay 2 life. If you don't pay 2 life, then it comes into play tap. But if you do, it doesn't come into play tapped. So yeah, white, black, white, blue, and then blue, black. And again, you can see, you know, different set symbols here because the cycle of the full 10 cards was spread out in a 4-3-3 configuration across the set. A single island. I've included the artwork from the main set of the most recent block. So Ravnica, City of Guilds. Oh, here's another legendary land from the Champions Kamigawa block. And this one, tap it to add 1 to your mana pool, 2 tap, each player draws a card. And then Minamo, School at the Water's Edge, add blue to your mana pool, untap target legendary creature. So you can see these 2 are from the same cycle. We've got Miren the Moaning Whirl, tap, add colours to your mana pool, 3 tap, sacrifice a creature. You gain life equal to the sacrifice creature's toughness. So you can see this and this is from the same set. We already spoke about that one. There's our single planes. We've got a Shizo Death Storehouse. Add black to your mana pool. black tap, target legendary creature gains fear and 2 end of turn. So that's, I think, the third of the mono-coloured legendary lands from that cycle. 2 swamps, again, original Ravnica artwork. 2 Tendo Ice Bridges, comes into play with a charge counter on it. Tap, add 1 to mana pool. Tap, remove a charge counter from Tendo Ice Bridge. Add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. And we have 13 sorceries. So we've got 4 compulsive researches, so 2 in a blue. Target player draws 3 cards, then that player discards 2 cards unless he or she discards a land card. 2 persecutes, 2 and 2 black. Choose a colour, target player reveals his or her hand and discards all cards of that colour. 3 zombifies, so 3 in a black, return target creature card from your graveyard to play. So, yeah, a little bit of graveyard shenanigans going on there. Sideboard, 15 cards in the sideboard, but yeah, there's several 3s and 4s here. So not, like 15 of 15 different cards. We've got quite a lot of particular cards. So 3 Condemns, single white, put target attacking creature on the bottom of its owner's hands. Its controller gains life equal to its toughness. 4 Castigates, white and black. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. Choose a non-land card from it. Remove that card from the game. 4 Descendants of Kiyomaro, I think that is. 1 and 2 whites, 2/3. As long as you have more cards in hand than each opponent. Descendant of Kiyomaro gets +1/+2 and has, whenever this creature deals combat damage, you gain 3 life. 2 Cranial Extractions, which has come up quite a few times in tournament decks so far, in the last sort of 6 or 7 episodes of this actually. Name an on-lane card, search target player's graveyard, hand and library for all cards with that name and remove them from the game. Then that player shuffles his or her library. Then we've got 2 Persecutes, which are also in the main deck. So out of everything here, this group of cards are not in the main deck to start with, whereas there's a couple of copies already. So how, what's behind this deck? Well, so let's just go down, look at so we've got blue, black, white deck here. You can see there's nothing here that can be casted. It can be casted, from your hand till you get to, so these 2 drops here. So, yeah. And you'll notice that the 2 drops are all, these. I don't think there's any other 2 drops in here. Is there only 2 drops in the sideboard? Yeah, so sideboard, we've got a 1 drop and 3 1-drops, 4 2-drops. I think everything else, if I've got that right, there are 4 Remands, so yeah. So the Remands and the Signets, and that's it. So Remands and Signets. So yeah. So up to that point, you counter magic. Turn 3, things get a little bit more interesting in terms of what you can play. So, several things you could do here. One thing is to, reanimate stuff. Obviously, it could be a while before that happens. I wonder if there's any cheaty things here you might be able to do if somehow you discard to the graveyard. That's from play. Put into graveyard from play. It doesn't say how though. So I'm assuming you could do that. It's just don't play anything and then just discard out these. No, see, it's from play. Sorry, that wouldn't work. So It's put into graveyard from play. You can't just... Yeah, it would have to be put into graveyard, so no, I don't think that's possible. I'm just looking to see if there's any other way you could maybe get those in early. Another way. Is there anything off of here? No. Okay. So yeah, so there's no... I'm just looking, yeah, there's nothing like a dread return type card here either. So it's your Zombifies. Okay. So yeah. Get something juicy in the graveyard. And then reanimate it back. Zombify it back. So do we have... Because over time, obviously, this deck's changed a bit. Yeah, there were other cards sometimes you get. Let me look. No. Oh, hang on. There we go. So we can create swarms of flying tokens. And like I said, I mean, if we bounce, is center of the... I don't think so. Just looking to see. Yeah. Oh, you can, yeah, you can replenish the charge counters on that, so you could bounce your Tendos. Okay. Yeah. So what have we got that's going to strip, if anything, our target player's hand? No. Okay. So, yeah, looks like we've got a combination really here of bit of control with card draw selection and some reanimation. There's our Persecute, so like disruption, and then we've got the ability to clear the board. It's Mortify on our side. Do we even have this? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a card advantage reanimation. We could be vulnerable to graveyard hate, particularly if we're trying to get something. We've managed to get something in our graveyard. Yeah, got a bit of filtering going on there, top deck filtering. Okay. So I suppose once we get this sort of stuff out, we can get nicely ramp into stuff. Certainly looks like a quite a you know, high cognitive load on this deck. Okay, let's dive in. Right, so we have, yeah, there's our artwork for the islands, plains, and swamps. I don't know what my favourite is really. I do like the swamp artwork for this actually. Oh, I've spoken about this artwork before, I think. Okay, so Eiganjo Castle. Okay, yep. So that was that cycle of legendary lands, which we've seen quite a few times now. It's a utility land. It's got damage prevention for creatures on it as well. And I'm sure, yeah, been down that route at some point recently. Yeah, these are the 3 cards with or 3 lands that have damage prevention on them. Good old Oasis. How much is that? Oh yeah, if you have the 4th edition one, it's pretty cheap. But yeah, that just makes me smile. That sort of thing. Like, those old those sort of lands that manaless lands. So, and again, I'm sure we have had a look at these, but they do make me smile. And they include these ones as well here because you're sacking them to get other cards. And I suppose that's what they turn into that essentially. So we went from manaless lands that had no conceivable way of drawing on mana at all, so then we go into these which in and of themselves didn't generate mana but had a way of tutoring for a particular land type. And again, not obviously important at this point in standard, but it does tie in with this idea about being able to tutor for certain non-basics where they've actually put the land type on the card. So yeah. So what we got here? Mirage and Onslaught. Oh, and then some random stuff. And of course these from Zendikar. The fetch lands from Zendikar. And then of course Evolving Wilds and where's it gone? Terramorphic Expanse. First printing in Time Spiral, which I'm sure I've mentioned before. And then this cycle from Streets of New Capenna. Oh, sorry. Streets of New Capenna. Doesn't have a K on the end. Hallowed Fountain. Another one that, we've seen a few times now. Yep, Shocklands. When it comes into play, you may pay 2 life. So reference to that. Better than Coastal Tower. Worse than Chandra. It's Chandra with the new artwork. And then better than Meandering River. Mikokoro. Another one. Actually, one thing I was curious. Where was that from? So it's Dissension. Okay. So so we're getting here with this one. This was the last. So one of the 3 guilds from the last set of the block. So Ravnica City of Guilds, Guild Pact, and then Dissension. Okay, group hug. Ah, yes. Draw. Symmetrical. Okay, similar to Geiger Reach Sanctum. Okay, discard the card. So, yep, group hug. So, oh, have we not looked at group hug? I don't think we have. Okay. What do we want to know about the history of group hug cards? Oh, of course, Howling Mine. So these are cards, yeah, basically just benefit everybody. Well, actually, let me wind that back a bit. So either they benefit everyone, or like this one, you get to choose someone apart from yourself that they benefit. I wonder if they would include, so good old Feldergriff. Yeah, so we've got things like prosperity. I'm trying to think if they would include things like the hunt. Yeah, so would that be all the hunted cards? Maybe, I don't know. There's a questing photograph. Well, we'll see in a moment. Oh, I forgot that Forbidden Orchard was in Champions of Kamigawa. Huh. Yeah, so these, where, you know, when you play them, a target opponent gets some creature tokens. Haunted Horror, Haunted Dragon, Haunted Troll. And I think if we look, yeah, you can see they're going to be, are they, what have we got here? We got the full, yeah, there they are, it's the full cycle. So they were only in the first set, Ravnica, they weren't spread out because they're like monocolour cards. There's Braids, Conjure Adept. Oh. Do I see, what is it, Party Jace? Each player draws a card. Oh, of course, Abyssal Persecutor. You can't win and your opponents can't lose. Temple Bell. So that's a bit more of a controllable Howling Mine. Yeah. I'm glad I went down this rabbit hole. Yeah, it's interesting. I obviously haven't gone down here before. Were these the Battle of the Horde? Yeah, I thought they looked quite different. So it must be the Battle of the Horde deck. Yeah. Defeat a God. So we're seeing some of the sort of special cards that were printed around that time. What is it? Theros block? Oh, yeah, of course these, that would factor into the conspiracy stuff. Oh, and the offerings from Commander 2014. Yeah, those. Wow. So we've got a few. I mean, you know, if you're in search, we'll do a couple of slices in a moment. So what I'm going to do is, wow, we got a lot more in the Commander Legends set. Commander 2021. There must have been a group hug type deck in that then, I reckon. Interesting. It's Clockwork Fox. So a lot more now. Okay. So the two things I was going to look at, just in terms of slicing them a bit more, was just to see overall, because we were looking at land. Okay, so we got Rainbow Vale, Forbidden Orchard, Mikokoro, which is the reason why we're here, Geiger Reach, Sanitarium, and Dowsing Dagger. Now, legendaries, 49 legendaries, including lands. Yeah, there's a land also. There's Jace. I think there's the other land. That's another legendary land. I think most of these are creatures, aren't they? Yeah. Got a few planeswalkers. Forty-three creatures. Lord of Tressorhorn. Miren the Moaning Well. So yeah, looks like it wasn't a part of a cycle, but we've looked at a number of these before, including things like utility lands. I don't know if any of these, let's see. Other lands which have toughness matters. It's nice. Yeah. Another one. Yeah, part of that cycle. And several here where you've been down. Synergies with legendaries, those sort of things. Underground River, yeah, we've visited this one a few times. So obviously the Painland cycle, of which there's 10, and then if you start looking at first printings, it shows you basically where they originate from. So Ice Age and Apocalypse. Watery Grave, yep, another one. Oh, yeah, so this is the Shocklands, yeah, Cycle of Shocklands, which, just to remind you, come from Ravnica. And there we go, there's the 4-3-3 breakdown with the different guilds. Yeah, so you can see there was several cards from that cycle. Another synergy. Excuse me, synergy with legendary. Permanent untapper. Trying to find niche rabbit holes here that have not been down before. So looks like untapper of permanent is one. Oh, the talismans. Oh yeah. Funny. Necroimpotence. Oh, of course, things like Pestamite, Fate Stitcher, Deceiver Exarch, and Scrambleverse. Wow. Cool. Oh yeah, the bounce lands. Another one we've seen before. So yeah, the cycle, and there's some other ones in this deck. And again, very quickly, if you've not seen me go through these before, just so you can see, yeah, originally from this block. And if I take that off, you can sort of see, they've been reprinted fairly recently by the looks of things. Yeah. Well, we are back in Ravnica, aren't we? So no surprise there. Yep. One of the other Painlands. So, if you didn't know, and I'm assuming we've looked at these before, there's this cycle, let me try and find it, of Pain tap lands. To add insult to injury. I imagine Pain tap lands being pretty insulting. Because they come into play tap. They tap for one colourless when they do untap, and then to get this, the two colours, they do one damage. So yeah, and there was a sixth one as well, Grand Colosseum. So these are worse than the cycle that we were just looking at. But it's funny. Oh, yeah, another bounce land. Tendo Ice Bridge. So this was a non-legendary land from that block. Similar to Ether Hub and similar to Gold Mine. And again, with this, something that I think I've explored this whole idea of using counters, which, although the card may not have a mechanism in play, of refreshing the counters, there are ways by, obviously bouncing it back to your hand to then replay it and put the charge counter back on that way, or outside of the card itself, doing a proliferate on it. So proliferating charge counters, or any other card that has a way of playing around with non-specific counters. I know some cards, when they move counters around, they might be specific types of counters, but I'm sure there's several cards which that doesn't matter. It's not any sort of counter. So it's always interesting to see, counters on mana generators that can then possibly be increased or messed with outside of what the card may be able to do. So, yeah. Oh, there we go. Another one. This part of this cycle. So part of the Shockland cycle. And again, as I pointed out. Okay. The signets. So, Cycler Signets, Skycloud Expanse. So yeah, there's these lands that do this similar filtering. So I'm just going to quickly look and see. So these were from, was it the Odyssey, I think, originally? Yeah. Just give away in the cycle name, but yeah, just to check that. Yeah. So the lands there would have occurred before these. So, oops, let's go back into the one we were looking at and just look at these. So you can sort of see. So yeah, again, you see, if I put these in, what do we want to do? Colour maybe? No, release date, that's it. Then we'll do it. Ascending, so yeah, 4, 3, 3. Now, if you look into these, you can see, yep, they've been reprinted several times. So we've got Ravnica City of Guilds, Plane Chase, these, and some of these, more than others, but you can spot there's, several in the commander decks, which makes a lot of sense. And other multiplayer like this one was printed in Arch Enemy. It's also cropped up in Modern Masters. And you might notice here, like, for particular sets, what sets, where they were reprinted, did they actually reprint the whole cycle? Now, for some of these, for the Commander product, just because of the colour combinations and how many they include in the decks, it might be the case that they did, in fact, do the whole cycle as part of that Commander product. But then other weird things like, these Magic Online theme decks. But yeah, a very interesting cycle there. Okay. There's the Dimir one. So that's all the mana generation done with. All right, Court Hussar. I deliberately put those up the front. Let's see what this is classified as on Scryfall. Wow. Okay. Interesting. So it is a cycle in Ravnica. How did that break down then? Oh, looks like we've been here before. We must have... Oh, was it because of the Gruul Scrapper? Probably. Yeah, these things. Yes, yeah. Okay, now it's coming back to me. So yeah, Seed Spark. So yeah, of course. Now I've thought about it. So that's right. I was talking about this last week or the week before. They slightly changed, didn't they, from set to set as they got through this, cycle across the block. Is it mega cycle? I think they're called, aren't they? Mega cycle. There was. I'm just looking. Is that? Yeah, so 2 in each colour, but it's just split up funny across rarities and across the sets as well. These are all, yeah, and of course they would be, wouldn't they, because of the 2 colour combinations. Yeah, okay. You can see the watermark there. I don't know how clear that is. Yeah, I think I pointed out on these, was it these 3 here, which are creatures from Guild Pack. You don't, so they don't seem to work templated in quite the same way. So with these, if you don't pay the particular colour in the casting cost, then all you get is this first bit. And if you do, you get the additional spell, additional effect. These ones, which are all on creatures, means that the creatures come in as just a straight vanilla. This one, yeah, it's additional bonus, and it's downside. It can't block, I suppose. So it's not a bonus, but a downside anyway. But if you choose to pay this colour towards part of the cost, as part of your 4 mana of any colour, or 3 or whatever, then you get the additional effect. And it's enters the battlefield, comes into playability. And then these 3, these are all ETBs as well. So yeah. I wonder what made them change it for this set. Interesting. Mortify. Did I miss something else? Let me just go back here. I think I was going to look at that quickly. Okay, so they included it in a cycle for the Masters 25. Okay. So it went into a different cycle. Fair enough. Okay, Mortify. Yep, it's cropped up in a few times in multiplayer. Makes a lot of sense, if you're playing white-black. Yeah, for 3, who wouldn't want to be able to destroy a target creature or enchantment. Okay. Interesting, it's a draft signpost. We'll look at that in a moment. Removal, creature, destroy. So these are all types of things we've definitely been down on several occasions. So I don't know if I feel the need to revisit those. I'll have a look at this. Oh, Putrefy was what I was trying to think of. So that's the black-green one that does artifacts or creatures and they can't be regenerated. So it mirrors that, in as much as instead of doing creatures and enchantments, it's just creatures and artifacts. And it's on either Sworn Adjudicator as a an ability on there. Right. So it was a draft signpost. Interesting. So was that in conspiracy then? Okay. I think this isn't that what CNS is? Yeah. Okay, so what do you know? So included as a draft signpost in conspiracy. Extract from darkness, fires of Yomimara, Maya, Sky Spirit. I recognise a few here. So now we've seen them all in situ. What when were they first? Okay. So 5 of them were specifically created for conspiracy, and the other 5, 4 of them came from, was that Tempest, and then 1 from Mortify. Okay. Angel of Despair. Yeah, I knew it had been in one of the early Commander products. It's also in that guild pack, guild kit as well. Ultimate Masters. What do we got? Wow, yeah. Removes a lot of stuff because it can destroy a target permanent. So, yeah, and has evasion. And destruction, planeswalker, enchantments, auras, artifact creatures, equipments, permanents. It's virtual French vanilla. Similar to Ashen Rider. Okay. Comes into play, destroy target permanent. Chaos Orb. So yeah, a lot of these are colour specific to the permanent. Tornado artwork. But yeah, if you put them by first printings, then Northern Paladin. Although all of these would be what in the first set anyway. Oh, there's Vindicate. So yeah, I was trying to think in that colour, you know, what is this? So to me, it's Vindicate spell on there, and I think that would probably be the best way to describe it. Thinking about it, yeah. So 1 white and a black. So what's that? 7. Take off 3. So yeah. So 4 for a 5/5 with flying. Fortunately, it doesn't have flash on it, so it is same speed. Okay. Compulsive Research. Yeah, this has come up a few times, I think. Or has it? I always get confused with some of these have such similar type, yeah. So let's just put this in release date order, the printings. Yeah, I don't know what it is about Compulsive Research. I always think it's been printed a lot earlier than it has for some reason. I forget that, as it was first time it's printed this set. And there you go. Cards with a draw 3, then discard 2, unless you discard type. So yeah, so that type of spell has occurred before. Although to get all 3 cards and discard 2 cards. Card. The kick or something play. Okay. Oh, so that one's an artifact. Okay. Similar to Thirst for Discovery. I imagine there's several discard type matters as well. So as a thing, how far does that go back? Oops. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that's all over the place in terms of what it's sort of tied up with. Okay. Oh, there's Remand. So you get card draw for that as well. So that makes it a cantrip. Similar to Reprieve. So yeah, this whole counterspell bounce thing. Interesting, there's not that many in here that have been tagged. So Remand. To its owner's hand, draw a card. So, what's the wording on as unsummons? Just creatures, isn't it, I think? Yeah. Okay. Whereas the other one was any spell. Creature removal bounce. Oh yeah, so there's much more creature removal bounce than there is sort of any spell bounce. And then you get other ones which bounce just instants as well. So Persecute, we looked at this before, I think. Single English word name, hand disruption. Yeah, I mean, hand disruption, as you know, is a favourite talking point of mine. So we have looked at this before, and yeah. Ice Age. First card there, and then of course it's on my favourites, the Spectres. Some of them anyway. It's braids. Coercion. Mind warp. I always quite liked the look of the this era before, the old style black inner bordering around the rules text. That sort of worn scroll, worn paper look. And obviously that went away once we got into a certain era of card. Actually beyond this, because that was just because those were, multicolored cards. So did it immediately, so it was still around, so it was still around up until, I was never sure if they partially got rid of it, but no, they kept that right until we changed the modern borders. Zombify. Yeah, I think I'd mentioned Dread Return. There's also Rise Again. It's better than Rise Again. Colour shifted Breath of Light, so Breath of Light's in white. It's on Bone Caller Cleric as an ability. And Reanimate Creature. Yeah, it's a thing all over Magic. And great fun to play around with. I'm sure we all recognise Animate Dead. So you'll notice there's a number of black and green cards here, but there's other colours of mana as well. You see it in white. You got things like Cauldron Dance as well. There's all these cards sometimes with quite wordy rules text on them as well. Yeah, it's on Balthor. So I wonder what legendaries have actually part of them. And it looks like we've been down here. Yeah, Rare Dawnbringer, Chain, Adventure Master, Passable, Blade Wing, Arisen. Yeah, so a few of the ones here. Order Notions. Oh yeah, Miren. Zombie villain. There's a combination. Did I read that right? Oh, I was wondering. I'm thinking that's got to be on something weird. Yeah, it's on Unstable. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember villain being a creature type outside of the unset. Minion maybe, but not villain. Yeah, Wrath of God. Yeah, old card. As many Magic players will know, yeah, colour shifted version is Damnation. There's also like Day of Judgment, which destroys all creatures, so a Wrath of God without the can't be regenerated. Interestingly, on Magetta the Lion, but you have to also discard 2 cards from your hand, and Magetta gets to stick around. And yeah, lots of times that's cropped up. Meloku. It's only been reprinted a few times, isn't it? Rescue lands as a thing. So yeah, anything with the ability to bounce a land back to its hand. So in terms of, and you can see we've done a couple of things here. Recently I probably looked at this and was interested in all the lands that did it, because you get these interesting tri-lands which I tend to forget about. They're the namesakes of the dragons from that particular block set, and then of course all of these from Ravnica. Now in terms of it being on a creature, you can see there's our one. Beyond Sea Drake, so when I get round to looking at Portal in the upcoming set Musings, the return of set Musings, I'll probably start off with the previous portal, the first Portal. So we'll get to that fairly soon, I hope. But we'll see. I've got to go through and look on Scryfall under the particular section. It's quite handy on Scryfall. They have stuff sectioned off for types of sets. So I'm going to look through, see what that aligns up with in terms of how it's categorised. These ones, and sort of go down that for a while, and then definitely go down the Masters sets as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. That's going to start next week. In terms of I'm going to swap out the commander for the episode with a Triumph and Return to set Musings. Kokusho. I mean, it just goes to show, you can see with what did I press there by accidentally? The Y cards like this, if you can somehow get them into the graveyard from play fairly easily. Or even just, you've got a 5/5 here, and you just forget about this, but you have a way of getting this back from the graveyard. So you discard it in somehow. And I'm not particularly talking about just this deck, but just generally. And then you use some sort of reanimation spell, type of spell on it that's a lot cheaper than the cost of casting it originally. So it's a 5/5 in play with flying, that's big trouble. Death Trigger Self, it's a thing. Cycle of those dragons, which we've looked at probably a couple of times now. You can see they have all been reprinted. Where's Yosei? So you jet it, Ojanen. It's better than that. So why is that even here? Well, I suppose, high casting cost, 5/5. Yet it doesn't have flying. It's a legendary creature as well. And yeah, permanent tappers. Interesting. So again, another thing with this, like a bit like the counter spell, like you look at the counter spell and there doesn't seem to be many, the bounce spell. There doesn't seem to be many bounce spells for permanents, but then when you start to look at specifics like bounce spells for say creatures, a lot more. Suspect that's the same with this. Like this is a tapper for a permanent, so you get to tap up to 5 target permanents that player controls. So you can tap them out all their land, or their creatures, or whatever. Anything that's tappable that in some ways turns it off, for want of a better word, for a turn. Either stops it from attacking or stops it from generating mana. So yeah. So when you look at permanent tappers, which another rabbit hole we don't appear to have gone down yet, so let's go down it. When did we first see this? Yeah. So this, there you go. Tap target permanent, yeah. So yeah, interesting how they're doing it. Release date. That's better. So, okay, so we have this. Fire and ice. Right. We see it here. But if we were to look and then change that to tap target creature, I suppose I should always check before I speak, shouldn't I? Yeah, it's a lot more. Okay, Ink Eyes. Another one we've seen before, at least once, probably more. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. No, it doesn't look like it's part of a cycle. Similar to Sepulchral, Primordial, and Teriel. Yeah, of course. So where are you taking stuff from on this one? Yeah. Creature card from that player's graveyard into play. Yeah, regenerate from opponent. It's also got Saboteur on it. Synergy attacker, sneak. It's a sneak. Put a permanent from your hand onto the battlefield with or without a requirement to sacrifice it later. Okay. How much reanimate from opponent do we have? Oh, 129. Yeah, animate dead's interesting, isn't it? Because you can pull off any creature. And I think, well, another one. Can't believe this hasn't come up. Yeah. Animate dead. Enchantment. Incremency, yeah. See, reanimate there. Coffin Queen. The Beacon of Unrest. Endless Whispers. Endless Whispers. It's on Teneb. That looks pretty cool. Oh, yes, Rise from the Grave from M10. That sorcery speed. Rename sorcery as well. So I know we're going off at a bit of a tangent here, but what I'm curious now about is just in terms of, I know we can probably see here. So some things, let's just go through this. So the ones that are auras, there's 9 of those. And they look like they're in black with blue. Okay. It's also interesting to see what sets they tended to turn up in. In terms of the the type of card our card is that we're looking at. Then 49 creatures, including Coffin Queen, Son Chainer. It's creepy artwork. Oh yeah, Limdol. Yeah, some interesting stuff in Time Spiral block. Nicol Bolas the Ravager. Yeah, no, it's on more legendaries later on. And then I was also curious. Draw cards. Okay. Hymn of Rebirth. What's this? 3 white green. Take target creature from any graveyard and put it directly into play under your control as though it were just summoned. Yeah, I can see why. This is definitely more expensive. Yeah, so is there anything even close casting-wise to a reanimate? You do lose life equal to the creature's total casting cost, so I suppose that might put you off with some things, but something with a really egregious casting cost, you might be a bit apprehensive about losing that much life. Like you got some, I don't know, like if they ever do in fact end up in a graveyard, but some like high casting cost Eldrazi or something like that, would it be appealing? I suppose it depends what it is. Oh yeah, this Rise of the Dark Realms. Restore does lands. Okay. So, is there anything that just... Creature cards are all greater than the battlefield under your control. Do we have a combination of like a Wrath with a Reanimate? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I mean, I know my old friend Phyrexian Rebirth does that, but that's a token, isn't it? It generates a token that's based on like amount of stuff. But I'm just thinking of, is there a card all amongst this? I don't really want to go through this systematically where you just blow everything up and then you get to pick something out of a graveyard. I know. I'm probably is here and I'm just not seeing it typically. Okay, so Necromantic Selection does, so you destroy all creatures and return a creature card put into a graveyard this way, but not, so only stuff that's gone in there. And Rise of the Dark Realms puts all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Okay, so is there anything that does that at instant speed? We have already gone off here, but never mind. Oh, Grim Return. Okay. Nurgle's Conscription. Okay. So now we should be getting into the sideboard. Well, I know we've looked at Cranial Extraction before in this episode, which is a lobotomy card, or lobotomy type card. And quickly look to see. Yep, so there's lobotomy, got Scour, Eradicate, Swinter, Haunting Echoes, yeah, Surgical Extraction. I think you get the picture. Similar to Memoricide, similar to Necromentia, yeah. Another sideboard card, which is Descendant of Kiyomaro, and is a cycle of Maro spells, which, as you can see, I haven't got the first printing in, and none of these have been reprinted. So 3 Descendants, a Gaze and a Clutch. Yep, Saboteur, which we've had a look before in previous episodes. Namesake Spell. Hand Size Matters. Yeah, it's a thing. And yeah, Life Gain. Also a thing. Quite a considerable thing. Condemn. Yeah. Where does that come from originally? Yep, so first appeared in Dissension. Put target attacking creature on the bottom of its owner's library. Its controller gains life equal to its toughness. So, if we go down here, we are going to see, similar to Excise, and similar to Ablation. 8 attacker, life gain, removal creature tuck. So that sounds pretty specialised, but yeah. Tuck spell for creatures. And they've got all manner of ones here that put it in various places. And let's just see what that looks like across the colour pie. Okay, so 9 cards in white would do it. 37 cards in blue. Of course, some of these, yeah. So again, this is mono, so there's obviously could be more cards here where based on things like the colour identity, or like 2-colour stuff. But just in terms of stuff, if you're playing a single colour, what would you have access to? Black next. It's 2. Oh, only rebel cards. Okay. Yeah, it's conditional. And then finally, castigate. Target opponent reveals his or her hand, choose a non-land card from it. Remove that card from the game. So we've got exile. So we've got discard to exile. And Thought seizes a tag. Opponent reveals a hand and you choose a card for them to discard. And so with Thought seize, actually just discarding the card. There's 117 of those. Specifically discard to exile, there's 58. And that's sort of discard to exile. When do we first see that? Elkin Lair. During each player's upkeep, that player chooses a card at random from his or her hand and sets it aside face up. The player may play that card as though it were in his or her hand. If the player does not play the card by the end of the turn, bury that card. So it goes into the graveyard. So what is that? Oh, because it's exiled before it goes. Okay, I see. So it's exiled before it goes in the graveyard. Interesting. Shimmy Inspector. Oh yeah, I recognise a few here. I just thought not see it. Memory leak. Yeah. Wow. Parallax Nexus. Look at some of the card types it comes on. So instant, just that one. Sorcery, that 23 of those. There's a few creatures it's stapled to. There's a spectre. Sin Collector. That's from Dragon's Maze. Is it likely to be on an aura? I don't know really. No. Can't see why. But oh no. What enchantments? Descend into Madness. Begin your upkeep, put a despair counter on Descend into Madness. And each player exiles X permanents he or she controls and or cards from his or her hand where X. Okay. Wow. I've forgotten about that card. So that's from Amazon Restored. Okay, there you have it. Hopefully that was interesting. That was, it took us down some interesting avenues there. So that was the Solar Flare deck from US Nationals 2006, the winning deck. So thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.